Hi, I thought I would keep myself accountable to myself and to keep you in the loop and have this sort of an informal 6-month review. I am making a cup of tea. We can share a cup, or you can grab a whip or your beverage of choice, and please do come and join me as we look past the 6 months and then into the next 6 months. And there will be a short Q&A, a little Q&A at the end. Let's start at desk since I wanted to just check some numbers on my computer. During the first 6 months of 2025, I released 5 individual knitting patterns and re-released 3 of the moon shawls from my first book. Wait, let me just grab them. Yeah, so 3 shawls individually from the Little Book of Moon Inspired Shawls, my first book. And I had 2 designs in 52 weeks of scrap yarn that came out this year. And yeah, the big thing, I released my second knitting book, Soothing Stitches. That's quite a lot. I was surprised when I sat down and just really thought about this. It's quite a lot. And just the fact that I have not one, but 2 knitting books out there, it feels unreal. If someone had told me when I started designing that this is what it would lead up to, it was my dream to have a knitting book out there, and now I have 2, and it's so surreal. I'm very happy that I've had the opportunity to do this, and very proud of these 2 books. Of course, some of the designs that were included in the numbers that I just shared were already designed, knitted, and written before the year changed. So there's that. Other than the knitting patterns, I have also published 19 videos here on YouTube this year. So yeah, that's not exactly 1 per week, but it's not too far off. And I think I am on track to my 3 videos a month that I'm aiming for right now. Some months it might be every week, other months just those 3. And that's just simply because I do have a day job in addition to Lina Knit, so I need to balance what I can do and can't do. I also, this is not related to the knitting business directly, but I had surgery back in December and I'm still not fully recovered. In fact, I might have to have another surgery. I'm okay, so you don't need to worry about me. I need to weigh the pros and cons of the situation. But just that this year, the whole of this year so far, I've been recovering from it, and it's taken a toll on my energy, of course. So that has also affected the amount of work I've been able to do for Lina Knits, which is my passion. But sometimes it's even those things that have got to give. All right, so enough about the numbers. In preparation for this review video, I asked you on Instagram to share what comes to mind when you think of Lina Knits. And this was not so that I could get a whole bunch of compliments, but reading your comments did feel really nice, and I thank you for leaving them. But I asked this because I wanted to see whether my message was coming across, what I'm passionate about is coming across. I feel very passionate about using knitting for slowing down and grounding to help bring something calm into your life, because modern life can be very hectic and very busy. So that's like at the core of Lina Knits for me. I like to put out patterns that are mostly engaging and meditative to knit, and I like to call them knitting patterns for your soul. I was very happy to see that that at least partly that is how you view Lina Knits as well. Just gonna check a couple of the comments that I got and read them. Someone said lovely Nordic knits. A few people commented on that they're mostly beautiful shawls, and that is absolutely true. I love knitting shawls and I love designing shawls, and I think shawls are the perfect knit for stress-free knitting, basically. There are no fit issues. It's just you and the needles and the yarn and the freedom to experiment. So I think although I have designed sweaters and different garments and will continue to do so as well. But I think the essence of the sort of stress-free and grounding knitting to me, at least at the moment, is shawls. And it seems that you really enjoy knitting the shawls. So let's keep on having more of them, yeah? Then one comment said that there's this nice flow between repeatable stitch patterns and simple stitch patterns, where like a combination of requiring some focus and then just being able to get lost in the knitting and the rhythm of the stitches, which is what I'm which is what I'm all about. And some of the other words that I got were sophisticated, minimalistic, a wonderful little twist or thought behind the pattern. Yeah, these comments made me really happy. So thank you for sharing them with me. These told me that I am on the right track. I am getting, like, I am communicating what it is that I'm passionate about and what I want Lina Knits to be about. So I'm just gonna keep on this track for the next 6 months, and I'm gonna try to get even better at it. So what is happening in the next 6 months? I have a whole bunch of designs planned. I have at least one new pattern coming out each month. I have ideas for more, but I'm reserving those kind of on the side, and they will happen if they happen. I don't want to say that I'm releasing 2 patterns a month if I can't keep up with that. And I don't think it's realistic to keep up with that. So 1 pattern a month, hopefully a couple of bonus patterns as well. And I will also slowly be re-releasing a few of the moon-inspired shawl patterns. They should all be individually out sometime next year. 2 of the patterns coming this year are the last 2 shawls of the knitted wheel of the year. So there is Llamas and Mabon still to come, the more autumnal colors and stitch patterns. Yeah, the knitted wheel of the year, that's something that's been with me for almost 2 years now. As I started thinking about the designs a year before I released Samhain, I wanted to come up with the designs during the appropriate season. So for Samhain, I took October and November to mull it over, and for Yule it was December, and so on and so forth. So they've been with me for a long time, and I'm starting to feel kind of sad that that story, that journey is almost at an end now, with 6 patterns out so far. I mean, I'm really happy that I've created it and it is there and you are knitting it. I love seeing the photos of different Lithas and different Beltanes being made and out in the world. But it's just, yeah, it's a bittersweet because I've been living with it for so long. I have tentative plans for other series that I might do. I'm not comfortable sharing details of the design series ideas yet because I just think they're not mature enough. I need to think about them some more, mull them over, sort of polish them a bit more to know what it is I want to do with them. But in general, I do love the idea of design series because it kind of lets me really immerse myself in a subject. Like with the knitted wheel, I was connecting to all the seasons and observing the changes and in nature and in the energies throughout the year. And I would really love to do something like that again because it really inspires me, and I think I do that's when I really love designing. I love stories in general, and I think that's why series also sort of intrigue and excite me. But I know that not everyone is like that. So I would love to know if you love sort of knitting pattern series, or if you love the stories behind patterns in general, or do you just go with what looks nice and maybe make up your own story depending on where you're knitting it, what yarn you're using it. I'd love to see how you view knitting patterns and stories, and if they correlate at all in your knitting. Other than the designs, I'm hoping that during this year I would get this YouTube channel monetized. I'm pretty far away from that goal at the moment, so I don't know if it's possible to do that or not. But yes, it's a dream, it's a goal. We'll see if we get there, but in order to get there, I know I need to improve a lot, learn a lot here about how YouTube works and how to make good videos. So I'm going to be learning about editing, about storytelling. I really enjoy connecting with you this way and sharing my designs and my passion and just chatting about all things knitting. There are many things to juggle. There's the designing, knitting, writing the patterns, everything to do with that. Then there's these videos, other social media, Instagram that I'm on. I love this. I wouldn't do this if I didn't love this. So, but all the likes and subscribes and comments that you leave me here are very much appreciated. And to end this, let's have that little Q&A. In addition to your impressions of Lina, I asked if you had any questions, and I received a few. Thank you to everyone who sent in a question. And all of the questions were actually around the same topic, and that was about my design process. Now, even before I got these questions, I had started to document, kind of log about one of the patterns that I was, or one of the designs that I was working on, from sketch to published pattern. So that is something that's coming up soon. When I was working on that, I realized that there are some things that are pretty much always the case, but not every design is born the same way. So one of the questions was about where do I get my design ideas? There are different places that I get them. One is obviously nature, and I don't mean just the topic of nature, but I get them while I am in nature. So walking in the woods or sitting by the seashore. That's when, if I have a moment to just sit quietly, breathe, and kind of let my mind wander, I start getting these ideas, usually for designs. Now some of them are no good, but others really are, and I make note of them and then work on them later on. The knitted wheel of the year shawls were all born that way. For example, I do get ideas from what I see, from certain knits that I see people wearing on the street or TV shows. There might be a color combination or a stitch pattern, shape, something that kind of sparks my curiosity, and I start to sort of polish that idea into a design. But yeah, my inspiration is nature, and then all kinds of magical realms and sort of the unseen energies in the world, the night sky, the moon. Those are what inspire me, and kind of my way of showing appreciation for something and trying to understand something is also figuring out how to express that in knitted form. And then someone other asked, how do I start with a new knitting pattern? Do I do a swatch, or how do I get started on a new pattern? I don't always do a swatch. I'm gonna come right out and be honest about that. I don't always do a swatch. If it's for a garment, then yes, because otherwise I don't know how many stitches to cast on. But for shawls, sometimes I just start doing the shawls. If I need to figure out the stitch pattern, if I don't know what kind of stitch pattern I want to do, then I do swatch for the stitch patterns. The majority of my designing is done when I'm actually knitting. So that's something that's pretty consistent in all of my designs. I always design while I knit and then write the pattern. Since starting designing, I've gotten very comfortable with frocking my knitting, because I might start something, I might work on it, then realize that actually I want to insert something in the middle of this, or I don't actually like this pattern at all, and then just frock it all the way or halfway. Sometimes the stitch patterns, of course, require me to to work to a certain number of stitches before that. So I do have to do some counting before just, forging on with the knitting. But it's usually always simultaneous with the actual knitting. I'm going to show you something. Now this here is what I got so far for llamas, and I've started this twice or three times already before I got it to how I want it. What I changed was the increases, how I did the increases. I tried my traditional knit front and back. I didn't like that. I tried make one, but I didn't like that either. So now I went with the eyelets or yarn over increases. And I know that this will have some lace, but I haven't yet locked down on what kind of lace it will be. So I first want to work on this ribbed section until I know I want to start the lace, and then kind of see how many stitches I've got to play with, and then decide on the final lace pattern. Kind of know what I want it to look like, and I've got ideas on how to get there, but I just find that the yarn and the way things look on the needle sometimes is different to what it is on my mind. But yes, so that's one example of how I get started. And no, I didn't do a swatch for this. I just cast on and started working. So when I'm design knitting, I've got my design, and then I've got my needles in my hand, and I've got a notebook by my side, and I'm constantly making notes. Another reason I might frog is if I realize that writing down something that I'm working on is too complicated, and it would be, and I don't mean that it's too complicated to knit, but if written down it looks difficult, then I don't want to have it there. Because I want the patterns also to flow quite smoothly, and so that you don't have to stop and scratch your head and figure out what to do next. Usually it's that the charts would be too complicated. I don't want you to have to follow large charts to be able to do something. The knitting time I want you to be able to have with my patterns doesn't include large charts. I will talk about this more in the video, or share more of my process in the video, but I hope that this kind of answered some of your questions. If it didn't, please leave them below, and I will do my best to answer them in another video in more detail, or from the right angle if my approach was wrong here. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out with me, and I will see you soon.